I just realized that I was muted this entire time. So welcome, happy Thursday. Excited to be here with you today and discuss the Wharton TBD mock interviews and just interviews themselves. We will have another session on Wharton's interview preparation process, but I'm excited to kick off this Wharton team-based discussion interview and discuss essentially how you can prepare. I know that Wharton does not release decisions until February 19th. However, it is a very intense preparation process in terms of what you need to do, as well as you do not have a lot of time to prepare, especially given that this is high interview season, which means that you may be invited to interview for other schools at the same time. So you're managing quite a lot of different interview invites at the same during the same period. So we will kick off the Wharton TBD today, and then we will have a special event on February 16th where we'll dive deeper into Wharton's team-based discussion interview preparation process. That is a special event that will take place, I believe it's on a Sunday, and it's going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern time, where we'll dive deeper into this process. So if you are working and preparing for that Wharton team-based discussion interview, I highly encourage you to register for that event and join us when you can. The other element that I want to say today is I'm actually manning the entire process myself, so you will see me go back and forth a bit, and I just want to make sure that I am seeing your comments and being able to answer those as well live. So whichever platform you're joining us, where we are live, feel free to write your question in the comment, in the chat of whichever platform. I will do my best to answer them live. And this way you can, get your questions answered. All right, so let's talk a little bit of logistics. Essentially, next week, we will be talking about the interview preparation. So if you are going to be, if you're in the interview process, expecting to be interviewed, definitely join us on Thursday next week or watch the replay, register so that you get the links directly to your inbox, and are of course notified when those lives go out. Excellent. So why don't I get started with the content, and then we'll dive into questions. All right, so for those of you who are new to our platform, I wanted to introduce CA Admissions first and foremost. We are an MBA admission coaching firm focused on providing individualized one-on-one coaching, whether that's to MBAs or graduate schools themselves. We have a tailored coaching approach, which means while we have a proven process that works time and again, given our track record, we do take and recognize that every single individual that we work with has a unique story and unique blend of experiences that makes them strong candidates for business school. And our purpose and our aim is to help them curate and present those experiences in a way that resonates with business schools. Our process is quite rigorous and quite intense. So if you are interested in discussing how our approach can help you in your MBA journey and your business school application process, definitely feel free to reach out. For me, I am the founder of CA Admissions, and I maintained CA Admissions with that premise of individualized one-on-one coaching to make sure that the experiences the applicants are going through for this transformative journey is as effective as possible in terms of presenting their experiences, presenting their case in then of course the best light for that individual and whatever their target institution is. We do focus on top 20 business schools primarily, given that those are a bit more difficult to gain admission to, and a lot of applicants do need a bit of support in communicating their experiences to business schools. So for today, I'm going to focus on the Wharton TBD. Again, this is the first session on Wharton team-based discussion interview style. So we're going to just talk more, slightly more macro level, and then we'll dive deeper on February 16th into the Wharton team-based interview style, so that you can get a bit more preparatory guidance as we approach February 19th, when the interviews are released, or interview invites are released. So let's dive right in. First and foremost, as I mentioned, February 19th is a big day for Wharton. They typically release interview invite or release decisions between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. Eastern time. Why is this important? It's because every single person that applied to round 2 or was on the wait list in round 1 will receive a decision on that date, all at the same time. What does this mean for those who are invited to interview is that Wharton will release a set of dates, set of interview dates essentially for at that same time as they release the interview invites. And you want to give yourself as much time as possible to make sure that you are ready for that interview, and you do it once. You can't redo your interview, you can't reschedule your interview. So you want to make sure that you are on the lookout that day between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. Eastern time to see what the decisions are. On that same day, so once you book your session, you will go in the portal and there is the guidelines on what Wharton is going to ask you to do during the TBD. So you will receive the prompt for 2024-2025. And because you follow us, we do have the prompt for you. It is a quite a lengthy prompt. And if you are interested in getting the full scope of the prompt, we do have the MBA guide, Wharton TBD guide that has been posted already on our blog. So you can go in there and look at the full length of the prompt itself. But essentially, the problem that you're solving is that Wharton has 2 impact communities. There's a social equity impact community and the environment impact community. This is essentially a community of individuals who are working towards causes that are impacting these kinds of experiences. So social equity is individuals who are interested and focused on social equity, and environment, obviously self-explanatory, those interested in the environment. Wharton is looking to create other impact communities that are around emerging topics of global interest. So these are your keywords that you must keep in mind as you prepare. And your job is to show up on the day of the interview, ready to have a solution to the prompt, already prepared because you have rubrics that you have to follow in terms of like what they're expecting. Present a 1-minute pitch of your idea, and of course work with your team to put together a business plan around this impact community that they want you to create. So that's your job as a candidate. And I would say this is somewhat challenging. You don't want to be generic. You want to be personal. You want to integrate your own experiences into this, into your delivery, if they make sense, of course. And you have to do a lot of research to make sure that you are answering all components of the prompt itself. So this, of course, takes quite a bit of time. And then obviously showing up on the day of the interview with your material, your research, your work that you have done to prepare for this. We will be doing Wharton mock interviews. That will be a TBD portion of that as well. So if you're interested, definitely join our Wharton TBD mock preparation. And I am going to just put that in the comment so that you can see it. You can register or join the waitlist rather, because at the moment we are not. It's not open. It's only individuals can sign up. The ones who have been invited to interview. So you need an actual interview invitation letter to register for this event. Okay. So let's continue. So you know what the prompt is, and then the day of the interview, the structure of the interview is that you have to introduce yourself. So expect introducing yourself. It's kind of a Zoom meeting with 4 to 5 other individuals like yourself, meaning candidates that are being interviewed, as well as either 1 or 2 moderators. Typically, if it's 1 moderator, it's typically an admission representative. If there are 2 moderators, they're typically students. Once you introduce yourself, then you give a 1-minute pitch, which is the preparatory work that you have done to showcase that you are ready for this discussion during the TBD. Then as a team, you have 35 minutes to discuss and present your pitch. Typically, you have 30 minutes of discussion and 5 minutes of presentation at the end of the session. Once that is over, you are all placed in a waiting room and will be invited to interview one by one for your 10-minute interview. And it's really 10 minutes, so it's not anything more than that. And in terms of what they're looking for in your experience here, they're looking for someone who can collaborate and has teamwork skills. Now, I know some of you are consultants who are very accustomed to collaboration and teamwork, and for you, it's going to be a little bit easier to do this, but you still have to make sure that you are being someone who is adding value to the group, and of course, making sure that you are inviting others who may not have the same experiences as you. They are looking for communication, so how well you communicate, and your listening abilities. Are you dismissing other people's perspectives, experiences, or are you really able to listen to their perspectives and integrate that into the discussion? Your problem-solving abilities and adaptability skills, again, you are coming in not knowing anyone in the group. How are you going to be able to come up with a plan? It's just, if you're working towards a common goal and that you're adaptable during that period. Obviously, emotional intelligence and professionalism. This is still an interview. This is still working with people, and they're looking for those components as you are performing, as you are going through the problem-solving process of the prompt itself. And leadership ability and ability to facilitate group progress. This is not about having the best, the most innovative idea. It's really about working together as a team to solve a problem. Now, this also does not mean that you go in with a, not so great idea either, but of course it needs to be thought out. It needs to be exciting. You need to identify your audience in terms of who you are solving the problem for, and work really well with your team, because the Wharton TBD experience is akin to the Wharton actual experience as an MBA student. So they want to see how you will perform there, because that will be indicative of your ability to succeed at Wharton. So how do you stand out in the TBD? First and foremost, you want to be proactive, but not dominant. What does that mean? Is you want to share experiences, but you don't want to dominate the conversation, because this is about everyone having a say, everyone coming in with their own perspectives, their own experiences, and that is valuable in this interview style. You want to foster inclusion and build upon others' ideas. So one of the common things that I see, and we're going to talk about, pitfalls to avoid, is that applicants are so fixated on their idea because they think that this is an interview where the primary evaluation process is one's idea that they're bringing to the table. If your idea is not picked, that means that your idea was not good. That is actually not what you're being evaluated on. It is absolutely okay for your idea not to be picked, and it's about how you play in the sandbox that is being provided for you, essentially. So don't be fixated on your own ideas, but really be open-minded, stay adaptable during this entire time. Demonstrate your strategic thinking. So the research that you do in advance, you will have thought through all the parameters of what is expected of the team-based discussion. And you want to prepare in a way that showcases that you are thinking strategically, that you have thought strategically in terms of your preparation, and you can use that thinking process to apply and evaluate the other ideas that are brought to the table. This doesn't mean that you are rejecting other people's ideas. It really means that you are thinking about the macro level success of the team. And of course, they're also looking at your decision-making process. Above all, communication is really important. How you communicate with others, how clear it is. Are you focused on very much on the tangibilities, or perhaps even being very technical? This is not the place to do that. This is really about thinking macro level, thinking strategically in how to solve a problem. And of course, being concise, given that you only have 30 minutes, you really have to go in fully prepared to be direct, straight to the point, and be mindful of how much time you have, and be consistently reminding your team about how much time you have left in the 30-minute window that you have been provided with. So, pitfalls, overpowering the discussion. This is not the place to do it. Now, of course, if the team is not engaging, it is your responsibility to try to engage them, but you are not you should not be overpowering and monopolizing the conversation. You encourage balance. So invite people in based on those initial elevator pitches that they have been giving in terms of how they would solve the problem. Encourage them to participate. Don't really be passive. Make sure your voice is heard and contribute meaningfully. If you don't have anything to say, you don't have to say anything. But make sure that if you have ideas to share and you have perspectives to bring to the table, that you are communicating this. Stay attuned to the group needs and be a facilitator. So invite, like I said earlier, invite people into the discussion who are being quiet. Always listen to where the conversation is going, what have people said, because this is how you allow a dynamic conversation. And of course, above all, in terms of how you show up on the day of the interview, you really want to show fully prepared for this discussion. This is not something that you ad-lib on the interview day. This is not you have to have fully prepared as if your idea would be the item that is picked, and be willing to let go if that idea is not picked, right? But you have done a lot of thinking and a lot of reflection to come up with a plan that will help you to evaluate other ideas that are brought to the table so that you can collectively come up with the best solution. Again, this is not going to be the thing that is produced, to be honest. So you have 30 minutes to come up with a solution. So that's obviously not a lot of time, but the team is looking to see, can you work together? Can you come up with a conclusion to a project that you've been given within a time frame that you have been given? After, I mentioned earlier in the process, after you are done, after you present your presentation, you have a 10-minute one-on-one interview. You can be the first one to be on that 10-minute one-on-one interview, or you can be the last one, or anything in between. So it's really important to also prepare for this part, even though you don't exactly know how that experience is going to go. But in terms of the 10-minute interview, they will ask you to reflect on your performance in the team discussion, some of your key takeaways, and then you have an opportunity to ask the moderator questions themselves. So you don't know in advance who that moderator is going to be. So you want to make sure that you are preparing either questions for students or questions for admission representatives. Those are typically your options that you have available. In terms of that individual reflection, so how you want to articulate your takeaways, and it's always difficult if you are the first person because you don't have a lot of time to think. But if you want a structure on how to think through this, you want to summarize the team's overall approach and how the group navigated the problem. This is like a one sentence, essentially. You highlight key moments where you contribute uniquely to the insights, questions, or solutions to the problems that you guys were working on together, and discuss any lessons learned in working in this group dynamic. So if the group dynamic was not really good, don't only focus on the positive, right? Be authentic, because that's part of the evaluation as well. Are you someone who only says positive and nothing negative? But also don't be negative only, because you have to be able to be balanced. Look at where the benefits of the discussion were, and then also the drawbacks, what you could have done better as a team, and then your lessons learned, because obviously that is something that you're always learning, and you have to showcase that you are someone who is always looking at your growth. In terms of your contribution, so like I said a moment ago, identify your specific moments where you helped move the discussion forward. So if you were really good at timekeeping, showcase that. If you were able to, if the team was stuck in this solution on this problem aspect of the problem, and you helped it move forward in any particular way, so you kind of directed the discussion in a way that moved the conversation forward, then you highlight that during the reflection period. And the format that you're going to use in terms of how do you think about formatting your response is going to be what happened, what you did, so what actions did you take, and what impact it had on the team. You also want to reflect on how this experience allowed you to showcase your personal leadership style and growth. Again, this is an interview of you, right? And give them a chance to or highlight the things that you want to make sure that they get out of that experience. And of course, demonstrate self-awareness. Acknowledge areas where you could have done better. Where you feel like you could have performed in a different way or would have liked to have performed slightly differently. Of course, we understand, and the interviewers understand, that within a 30-minute meeting, in terms of coming up with a solution, it's not a lot of time, and obviously you have a lot of things working against you, not knowing the team in advance. So take the moment to showcase that you saw some areas that you could have done better, and how that will be different, like how that will inform your future group setting and group discussions. We will be doing a mock TBD, like I mentioned earlier. Our process for the mock TBD is you're going to have a one-on-one discussion to approach how are you approaching the prompt. So meaning you would have done work in advance of that session, and we would discuss where are some areas that you could have done, that you could do better in terms of your preparation for this discussion. Then you will join one of the 3 sessions that we have available it's a 2-hour window where we mock the actual interview, and that's when you book your interview for Wharton, it's 2 hours in your calendar. And then after your session, so if you join the 24th, we would try to have a session on the 25th where we give you one-on-one feedback on your actual individual performance. So how did you perform on the TBD, so that when you show up to your interview, you can take that feedback and apply it to your Wharton interview experience itself. Excellent. So I think that's all I have for today in terms of the presentation. I will move to questions. If you have questions, please ask them in whichever platform you're joining us from. And this way I can answer those live. Anything was unclear, happy to clarify that. We did have some questions through the registration form. And I will just move my screen over here so I can see them better. And I apologize, I'm by myself today, so I'm navigating a few different windows at the moment. Okay, so questions that have come in through the registration form are, okay, so this is a good question. So what are some practical tips on staying calm and confident during the TBD? I will say that something you want to do is, first and foremost, if you make sure that you are well rested the night before. So your interview, you are fully present there. I can tell you horror stories I hear about being tired, having worked on big projects the night before and trying to manage everything, which I'm very sympathetic about. However, if you're trying to make a transition in your career, this is a really important component of this next step in your professional chapter. So making sure that you're well rested the evening before, a couple of days before as well, is going to be really important. On the day of the interview, I would make sure that all of your notifications are removed. You're in airplane mode with everything. Nothing is an emergency on the day of the interview. Make sure that you have your research well prepared in front of you. You are continuously taking notes. And if you're finding yourself that you are getting anxious, make sure that you're taking a few deep breaths during the session, even before the sessions, to calm your nerves. I would say that is an element that you want to keep in mind, but then also always go back to the basics. If you feel that you're not contributing and then that is causing you to panic, well, ask a question in the discussion. Look at someone's contribution and evaluate it. Is this something that is going to move the needle forward? And then ask a clarifying question, so that this way it can help you just start the conversation or start participating, so that you're feeling a little bit more like you're a part of the team. How do I make sure that I contribute meaningfully without dominating the discussion? This is quite an important piece. Again, if you have your notes and if you have your preparation, so you're going to break down all the different segments of what they want you to complete in advance of your session, I would say that you are always looking for ways that you're going to contribute, without needing to say something for every piece of the Wharton TBD experience, but also have an opportunity to invite people to the discussion. So it's not only about you saying something, it's about saying, Susan, you had an interesting conversation or an interesting point during your pitch. Can you elaborate a little bit more about how did you see that involved, or how did you see that as a solution to this problem? As you can see, this is not about you as the individual asking the question, but it's actually about someone else. It shows that you are listening to their their point of view, their ideas, their perspectives. You're inviting them into the conversation, and so they have an opportunity to actually share the work that they have done. This way, it's not just about you, but it's also about someone else, and you keep the balance between your contributions and their contributions as well, right? Because this is a collective problem that you're dealing with. Excellent. Okay, so I think that was the last question that I have for today. I don't see any comments coming in or any new questions that you guys may have. As a reminder, I will be having a session, another session. We'll dive deeper into the Wharton TBD on the 16th of February. So this is a weekend. So this is a special event that we're going to be hosting. I encourage you to register for this in advance. This is, if you go to our website, you will see all the events that we have for February, and of course, register for as many as you would like. And next week, we are going to talk about the interview questions and answers. We'll dive deeper into some of those. I will be doing a MIT prep session with GMAT Club. So if you go to our website in the events page, or even at the top of the banner, you will see a link to our events page, and you can see all the events that we're hosting internally, as well as those we're hosting externally. So I will see you next week, where we'll talk about the interview preparations. If you need support in the meantime, please feel free to reach out. We do have mock interview prep, as well as obviously applicants who are thinking about next year should reach out to discuss their preparation process for round one especially. I will see you next week, and thanks again for being here.